Rage of the Abyss is a brand new set in Yu-Gi-Oh! And as you guys know, there's some crazy cards coming out that are gonna make the game faster than ever. Like, the power creep is absolutely insane. So I thought we'd make this video talking about what the heck is in this set. Obviously, there's some main cards that we're looking out for, but there are also some other decent support for other cards that people might not be aware of. We have a lot to get through, so let's dive in. Mulcharming Fuelos. This is the card that everyone has been anticipating. Like, probably the most anticipated card in the past 5 or 6 years. This is a game warping, game-changing card that allows you to draw cards every time your opponent special summons from the deck or the extra deck. It's basically Max C, and you guys already know Max C is banned, but now we're getting another Max C that's a little bit weaker, but still equally as powerful when you're going second, considering how fast the game is and how every deck basically uses their extra deck to play the game. But alongside Fuelos, we're actually getting another card that's also very, very powerful, and this is another hand trap called Dominus Impulse. Dominus Impulse is basically a solemn warning on a hand trap form factor. This card is absolutely nuts. It basically says you can negate the effect that your opponent activates, which allows them to special summon a monster from anywhere. So it's basically half of the effect of Ash Blossom, but not only for the deck, for graveyard, extra deck, the deck, hand, field, wherever the card is trying to come from, it will stop it. And the best part is you can actually activate this from your hand if your opponent controls a card, which means that if your opponent is activating something like Monster Reborn, yes, that actually stays on the field. They control a card until the chain resolves, so we are able to chain Dominus Impulse to that if that's the only card they control. And Dominus Impulse also negates and destroys if you already have a trap card in your graveyard, which means like Infinite Permanence or another copy of Dominus Impulse. Now, this is a second trap in the Dominus archetype. We already have Dominus Purge, which stops your opponent from searching their deck. Well, Dominus Impulse takes it to the next level, and on top of that, this card does come with a restriction. It locks you out of light, earth, and wind monster effects if you activated this card from your hand for the rest of the duel. So it only works really in the right deck that doesn't play any of these cards, and it does conflict with other hand traps like Effect Failure or Nibiru, so you do have to kind of sequence it properly and also build it in the proper deck. I think TENPAI is the deck that everyone is going to slam this card into because they're all fire monsters and they don't really care about light or earth or wind monster effects. So that deck is going to get a huge boost just from these two cards, Mulcharming Fuelos, as well as the Dominus Impulse. Guys, really quick, I just released a brand new TENPAI Masterclass for post Rage of the Abyss. If you're a Patreon member, you get 50% off. Check out the link to the Masterclass in the description of the video. I honestly think this is one of the best decks after the set drops, if not the best deck, period. Not only do you get to play Fuelos and Dominus Impulse, but this is one of the only decks that plays really well into Fuelos. This Masterclass has a bunch of slides plus a video, and I'm also including the previous 2 TENPAI Masterclass slides and the videos for free in this bundle. Well over 100 slides and hours of video footage. Guys, if you want to start winning this format, definitely check out this Masterclass. Again, the links are in the description, so definitely go check out the Masterclass. Next, talking about some engine support. So the AZAMINA stuff is the newest addition in the Snake Eyes storyline, and these cards are absolutely brutal. Like, you thought that Appaloosa was bad and they banned it for a reason. Wait till you hear that we're now introducing a series of fusion monsters to the archetype, so they can now fusion summon, and these fusion monsters are absolutely crazy. AZAMINA Mu Arcilago allows you to search your deck for any Sinful Spoils card when a special summon, so you can actually search for Wanted now to bridge into Black Witch quite easily. And then we have AZAMINA Ilia Sylvia, which is now an Omni Negate on a body. This card allows you to tribute itself to negate any activated card effect by your opponent. So now that we have Appaloosa gone, it seems we're reintroducing another Omni Negate that protects the Snake Eye combos from things like Nibiru or other hand traps, or just strengthens the end board in general. These cards can be cheated out easily using the Hallowed AZAMINA, which allows you to actually special summon a fusion monster from your extra deck by sending away any other Sinful Spoils card from your hand or the field to the graveyard. And we are getting a brand new Sinful Spoils called Sinful Spoils Deception, a continuous spell card that can actually tribute a monster from your hand or field to search for a copy of Hallowed AZAMINA, and then you can activate Hallowed AZAMINA to send away that same Sinful Spoils Deception to summon out either Mu Arcilago to search your deck even further, and or summon out Ilia Sylvia, which is an Omni Negate. So that deck is getting a huge boost with these cards alone. I think a lot of people are going to be whipping out their Retaliating Seas in order to counter the Hallowed AZAMINA. Yeah, just a heads up, Retaliating Sea is actually a good tech now because you can chain it to AZAMINA, and then they're forced to banish the Sinful Spoils Deception and the AZAMINA, so neither will come back to their hand, and they're also not able to special summon a monster because they did not fulfill the requirements of sending a Sinful Spoils card from their hand or field to the graveyard. Nope, it got banished instead thanks to this retaliating bug. So that's about it for the high impact stuff that everyone already knows about, that we're all excited for, we're anticipated for, we're buying cases just because of this. But there are also some other cool support for existing archetypes as well as new ones that are on the horizon. horizon. For starters, we're getting some normal vanilla monster support in the form of the Primites. The Primites are a series of rock-esque cards that allow you to special summon normal monsters from your deck, as well as your hand or graveyard, and then you can actually get 2 normal monsters on the field quite easily. A lot of players in the OCG are playing this in Yugioh. They're teching in these cards because you can actually summon out Evil Swarm Heliolope, and then you can actually overlay for Evil Swarm Ophion, who locks out level 5 or higher monsters from being special summoned. So this is actually very powerful against the right deck, like Sinful Spoils. It locks out cards like Black Witch from being summoned, so they can't start their combo quite easily, and also the fusion monsters. So Primite Imperial Dragon is their signature boss monster, and during your opponent's main phase, this card has a quick effect that allows you to tribute a normal monster you control, and then you can negate all the effects of face-up monsters your opponent controls, as well as banish all monsters your opponent controls with the same type or attribute as a normal monster in your graveyard. But the strongest card in this archetype is probably Primite Lordly Load. This card allows you to search for any Primite card from your deck. We are also getting a quick play spell card that's a direct upgrade to Unexpected Die called Primite Roar, and this card is really, really powerful because it allows you to special summon out any normal monster from your deck, just like Unexpected Die, except it's a quick play in addition to all of its other effects. So now the Plant Rika deck gets a direct upgrade. You can activate this, special summon out the Sunseed Loki, and go full combo. And now over a decade later, we are getting some 6 Samurai support. So all the 6 Samurai enthusiasts, if you guys remember playing back then, we're now getting another copy of the Synchro Shien, who can negate monster effects. Previously, the legendary 6 Samurai Shien could only negate spell and trap card effects, and it was kind of missing a piece of the puzzle that negates monster effects. Well, now you have the Shien that can actually do that, and we're also getting a synchro copy of Anishi to boot, both of which are really, really powerful alongside some other cool 6 Samurai support. So if you guys are an advocate of warrior decks or decks that spam the board, definitely try the 6 Samurai stuff, because making Naturia Beast is definitely still just as threatening as it was back in the day. Well, now you can pair that with the legendary Lord 6 Samurai Shien, who is very, very powerful. Okay, so they're actually bringing some new support for one of my favorite decks of all time, MERMAIL Atlantean. I've had a couple of tops and a lot of success. My first YCS top in 2012 was actually with MERMAIL Atlantean, so I'm definitely wanting to try this new deck. We're getting some brand new support. There's actually a upgrade to Poseidra, as well as the Atlantean Prince, who is actually a Link monster now. So we see the Fire King actually face off against the Atlantean Mermails in the lore, in the card artwork. That's progressing along nicely. Unfortunately, Abyss Guile seemingly meets his end at the fate of Sacred Fire King GOBLIN, but we are getting some new support now, so maybe the deck can actually rival that of Fire King. I know my buddy Yvonne is already labbing these combos, and he's been sending some crazy hand rip combos with Blue Glacia, as well as Atlantean Prince just off one single card to me. So yeah, it seems like the deck is actually really, really scary, and I'm really excited to test this out. I mean, we're getting new equip cards. We're getting the Abyss Sting of Triania, which is like the trident that the Abyss Giles was wielding, now passed over to the Prince. And the best part is they've officially bridged the gap between Mermails and Atlanteans. Previously, there were 2 separate things, but now with the release of Mermail Shadow Squad, this card is actually treated as an Atlantean monster while being Mermail in its name. So we actually finally tie those 2 together, and it's really, really cool what this deck is capable of. I definitely want to try it out, and hopefully I don't get Dimension Shifter. New Goblin Biker stuff. I don't really know what they do, but if you guys are enthusiasts of spamming the board with level 3s, then definitely check them out. But one Goblin Biker card in particular that I'm excited about is the Goblin Biker spell card, Goblin Biker Grand Breakout. This is a quick play spell card that allows you to special summon a goblin monster from your deck directly by tributing another monster, and it happens to be splashable in any deck that plays goblins, aka Mementos, who has the card Memento Goblin. So basically, this is another copy of a pseudo Bone Party that allows you to dodge targeting cards like Imperm or Veiler, but also special summon out Memento Goblin, who is actually a full combo in the deck itself. So Memento fans will rejoice. This has seen a lot of play in the OCG. They're finally splashing in this card. I think that deck gets a significant boost with a E-Telly that improves consistency, but also dodges a lot of the targeting disruption that's in the format right now. I mean, this set is also called Rage of the Abyss, so Mermails can't be the only water archetype that gets support. We're actually getting some new support for the Shark archetype, the Xyz rank 4 spam deck. Yep, they're actually getting a Poplar monster in the form of Drake Shark. This card has the effect where you can reveal it if you add it to your hand, except by drawing it, to special summon it, just like Poplar. This card is really cool because you can actually substitute it as 2 bodies for any water Xyz monster that requires 3 or more materials, so a lot of cool shenanigans that it can actually pull off. They're also getting an awesome starter slash extender called Surfacing Big Jaws. This is actually a retrain of the previous Big Jaws, who was abysmal, just like a worst water card ever printed. But now the Surfacing Big Jaws is better because you can special summon itself from your hand if you've already activated a spell this turn. And when this card is normal special summon, you can actually search your deck for any fish type shark monster. So it's insane. This card is an extender as well as being a starter if you just happen to normal summon it without activating any spells. spells. There are, of course, some other armored shark support in the set. I suggest you guys check it out if you're a fan of sharks. I'm really, really excited for a deck like this because I love rank 4 spam decks. You know, I'm excited for Rhysio, so in the meantime, I might try out sharks as well as mermails. Insect fans will be pleased to see that there's some Battle Wasp support. Yeah, these guys have not been forgotten. They're a synchro spam insect archetype, and they're actually getting a pseudo black whirlwind that allows you to search twice. That's right, Battle Wasp Wind. Whenever you normal or special summon an insect monster, you can target it, search your deck for an insect monster with less attack, and you can use this up to twice per turn. So Black Whirlwind has officially been power crept by this brand new Battle Wasp Whirlwind. They're also getting some big new meaty synchros, so if you guys like insects and also using cards like Retaliating Seed that actually might be really powerful against the AZAMINA archetype, this might be the chance to try it out as a rogue deck and see how it fares. I mean, there's a lot of existing insect support out there, so maybe there's just something that's good enough to make this deck at least tier 2 or viable. Centurion fans, we're getting 2 new cards. Primera Primus is a brand new synchro monster that's absolutely crazy. When this card synchro summoned, you can actually search your deck for any emblema card. So now you can search for emblema of Os. And while this card's in the graveyard, if your Centurion monster leaves the field, you can actually bring it back as a free body that cannot be destroyed by battle. Really, really powerful. Allows the deck to do a lot of things and play through Nibiru now, so it's very, very handy. There's also a card called Centurion Chimeria, which is a normal monster that can now change any effect your opponent activates as chainlink 2 or higher into you place a Centurion card from your deck, graveyard, or hand onto your field. So basically negates any card effect that would be activated as chainlink 2 or higher by your opponent while this card is on the field. Fans of the Fiendsmith archetype, we are getting 2 brand new Fiendsmith cards. Lacrima, the Crimson Tear, is actually a main deck Fiendsmith monster. It's Lacrima before Fiendsmith Lacrima. And yes, this card has been censored in the TCG. Previously, we had to play cards like Necroquip Princess when we went into Moon to go into the Fiendsmith combo to have enough bodies in the graveyard to make the sequence, but now you can just summon out Lacrima and then Foolish, Fiendsmith, Engraver, so you don't even have to play Necroquip anymore. And the best part is this card has another effect while it's in the graveyard during your opponent's turn. You can actually shuffle it back in the deck to special summon one of your Fiendsmith Link monsters. We're also getting a Link 3 Fiendsmith called Fiendsmith Agnum Day. This card is really, really nice because it can resurrect any light fiend monster from your graveyard, non-link. So if you have Desiree already in the graveyard and you're in the grind game, you can summon this out, bring back the Desiree, and that just sets it up nicely so it has to negate for up to 3 cards, which is pretty crazy. Okay, so when I was a kid, I actually got a copy of Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories, and inside was Red Eye's Metal Dragon. Since then, I was always a big, huge fan of the Metamorph archetype, and in the anime, it was actually really good. It was used by Ban and Keith, but it was never good in the actual game. Like, it just had bizarre mechanics where you actually had to tribute summon a card that you controlled with Metamorph equipped to summon out that monster from your deck directly. Just like the weirdest summoning mechanic ever. Doesn't start a chain, but the point is we're getting brand new Metalmorph support like 20 years later. It's called Max Metalmorph. So now we are getting Red Eye's Black Full Metal Dragon, who has a whopping 3,400 attack and allows you to negate any card effect. It's an Omni Negate that also burns your opponent on the resolution. We're also getting a retrain of Metazoa, who can pop 2 cards your opponent controls, and a brand new retrain of Zoa, who can special summon itself out from your hand and also set a copy of the new Metamorph directly on the table. In the real game, you would actually tribute that regular monster equipped with Metamorph to summon out the metallic version from your deck directly, and that's exactly what they built on for the actual new support. So Max Metamorph actually allows you to tribute a monster you control and special summon out the metallic version with the corresponding type directly from your deck onto the table. So we do have to sacrifice a dragon to summon out Red Eye's Black Full Metal Dragon, or a fiend to summon out the Metazoa X. So in a Dragon Link deck, you can definitely check these cards in because they have a reinforcement of the army called Incoming Machine, which can search for any card that actually mentions the Metamorph cards. And then by setting it, you can tribute any dragon monster you control, summon out the Red Eye's Black Full Metal Dragon. It's another Omni Negate on your field that also cannot be targeted by monster or spell card effects thanks to the effect of Max Metamorph. On the flip side, the Fiendsmith stuff pair really well with Metazoa because they're all fiends. So you just have to get the Fiendsmith stuff into rotation off of Moon, and then you contribute itself using a copy of the Max Metamorph to go directly into the Metazoa X. That's another additional 2 disruptions because he can pop 2 cards on the field during your opponent's turn. And they're also getting a metal version of Copycat called Metal Illusionist, who can actually change its type. And the ruling with this card is you can actually change its type alone to Fiend, so it becomes a light Fiend monster that can directly go off into Fiendsmith Requiem. So I saw a lot lot of cool combos and shenanigans in the OCG. Players were experimenting with this engine because you can go directly into FIENDSMITH, but he also has an effect where you can set a max metamorph when he summons, so you can then tribute it by changing its type to either dragon or fiend, or either the Red Eyes Black Full Metal Dragon or the Metazoa X, depending on what type that you actually make the Metal Illusionist. So this engine is actually really cool to play around with. It's all searchable off of incoming machine, and I think it's actually quite cohesive. It might see some meta relevant play in the right deck. Here's some other cool random one-up support that we're getting for existing archetypes. So we are getting some Exodia support in the form of Heart of the Blue Eyes. This is actually Grandpa's Blue Eyes that Kaiba rips up in the anime, and it allows you to actually add a copy of Millennium Ankh from your deck to your hand by discarding it. It also has an effect in the graveyard where if your opponent normal or special summons a monster that's level 8 or higher and has 3,000 or more attack, you can actually send that monster to the graveyard and bring this card back from the graveyard. So it's actually really cool how it calls back to the anime. You are actually getting rid of Kaiba's Blue Eyes White Dragon and bringing out the true OG Blue Eyes, which is Grandpa's Blue Eyes. There's ABC support in the form of Union Pilot. This card is much like Reunion Driver, except it actually bounces itself back in your hand to then equip a card from your deck directly. So you can equip B, A, or C, and then special summon them out and start playing. It's going to be really effective. I see the new ABC stuff is probably coming on the horizon because they are releasing steady support for this deck. We're also getting a brand new ABC/Cyber Dragon fusion monster support called Heroes Virag, the Mechanical Dawn. This card actually negates spell and trap cards, and it requires 2 light machine monsters to fusion into, so it's very nice to put onto your end board alongside the Cyber Dragon Infinity so you can negate multiple cards at once. We are getting another card to add to the Morganite series. So previously we had Time Carrying Morganite, which did see some play. Now we're getting Succumbing Song Morganite. Just like its predecessor, it prevents you from activating monster effects for the rest of the duel, but it allows your monsters to attack twice during each battle phase on other monsters, and it also inflicts double battle damage to your opponent anytime your monster battles an opponent's monster. Best of all, in the graveyard, it has the effect where you can banish it to search your deck for another Morganite card, meaning they're probably going to print more, and hopefully they're playable in some capacity, a lot like how Time Rending Morganite was. These cards are actually really interesting because they do have a weird restriction, but are playable in the right decks. And we are getting a callback to Varudras called Final Bringer of the End Times. It's literally the beam that's coming out of Varudras' mouth. This card is a quick play spell card that's very powerful and highly underrated, I think. It's basically the next smash hit for quick play cards like Econ, Super Poly, so on and so forth, cards that were previously playable. This card allows you to target a monster you control and a card your opponent controls and destroy them. This card is really good in a right deck like TENPAI because you can actually target your monster and duck targeting removal like Effect Veiler or Infinite Impermanence, but also use it on a card like Genraku and then chain the effect to run away and then still destroy the card that your opponent controls while special summoning out another dragon from your deck. This is really nice because previously we didn't really have a quick play spell card that destroyed any card on the field. We only had cards that specifically dealt with either monsters or specifically dealt with spells and trap cards, but now this card rolls them both into one at the cost of targeting one of your own monsters, but comes with the added benefit of being a quick play spell card so you can actually dodge Infinite Impermanence and Effect Veiler. Really powerful card. I think it's going to see a lot of play moving forward in the metagame, and I'm surprised no one's really talking about this card, but we'll see what happens as the metagame progresses. I'm definitely going to splash in 2 copies of this card in my TENPAI build because I think it's amazing. TCG World Premieres. We are getting some cool ones like Release Brainwashing, which is an homage to the original Remove Brainwashing. It's the same girl, but now she does not have any brainwashing and is very powerful in the right strategy with kaijus because it allows you to actually steal control of a monster that you control back to its owner. We're getting a plethora of Mimikyu support, and these cards are actually shockingly good. Like, the deck is now maybe tier 2 or better. It's a lot more viable than it previously was. I know a lot of people were kind of down in the dumps when they revealed the original Mimikyu card, Mimikyu Charm, but it turns out the other cards are just insanely good, and the generic rank 1 Xyz can actually be made off of 2 level 1 monsters, so Snake Eyes might actually be splashed potentially. I don't know, we'll find out. Anyways, I'm really excited for this archetype to be good, and I'm definitely going to test it out. I think the cards will be a lot cheaper than they are currently in a couple of weeks, so let's wait to see how good they are. We are getting some other cool TCG premieres like Denial Deity, which is the fusion monster that might work in the right deck. Butterfly Fish is a MERMAIL/Atlantean support card. This allows you to use itself over and over again to discard for the water effects. Just really cool there for some random water support. So with the BEETROOPERS, we're getting some new insect support, world premieres, TCG exclusive, Heavy Cavalry of the Indestructible Insects, as well as Supply Soldier of the Indestructible Insects. Hopefully we get some more Indestructible Insects down the line, but these guys are really cool. Nice touch for the insect decks that are already out there. And then the OCG imports. This is where things get spicy. We're getting Fire King ULKCANIX. The consort is finally arrived. This card has been around in Master Duel for ages, and I'm really excited to try it. It allows you to pop any fire monster you control or in your hand to search for a corresponding winged beast, beast, or beast warrior. So it starts off a lot of your engines by searching for products, revealing it, special summon out, search for island, so on and so forth, or Sacred Fire King COURTIER. Just really excited for this card. I can't wait to try it in the Snake Eyes Fire King build. And then we're getting Rescue Hedgehog. Finally, this card is support for normal and effect monsters. It works very well with the PRIMITE archetype that's been revealed in the set as well. So it's kind of cool. We're getting new rescue monsters. Hopefully we get like a rescue bandana, you know, the ones that they have the event already for Rescue Rabbit and Rescue Cat. And then last but not least, we're getting Splitting Planarian. This is basically insect support. It can actually special summon out 2 level 3 or lower insect monsters from your deck. So that's really cool for the insect spam decks, for the Battle Wasp, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's about it. What do you guys think about this set? Let me know in the comments below. I honestly can't wait till we get it. This is one of the most high impact, powerful sets that we've ever gotten in the past couple of years. So I'm excited to see how this changes the game. And other than that, yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Subscribe, like the video if you guys haven't already. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Bye-bye.